Is there a particular mindset that one needs to have as they are starting a business? And the answer to that question is absolutely there is. Fortunately or unfortunately, that mindset begins with thoughts about risks. What are the risks that I will be challenged with as I start my new business? And I can't underplay the concept of risk. Fortunately for me in my lifetime, the way that I got started with my first business ventures a long time ago, I didn't have time to think about risk. I was told by someone that I trusted implicitly, my grandfather, who I watched in my years of growing up as a very successful entrepreneur. And I watched him and I studied him, and I wanted to learn the things that made him successful as a small business owner. My father was involved in small business. For most of his lifetime, it was somebody else's small business of which my father was involved in, and it wasn't until the last 6 or 7 years of his own life that he was involved and working in towards with his own small businesses. As a matter of fact, in 1 year, he bought a business, the one that I later bought from my mother. I bought it 7 years after my father bought it from the individual he purchased the business from. He also started a business from scratch the same year. I don't know if that was a great idea, but it doesn't matter. It was something that he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it not just for himself, but he wanted to do it so he could provide the kind of lifestyle that he wanted to provide for his family. So I also got to watch the beginning of my father starting business. However, the same year that he started and bought his business, I started college. So I wasn't able to spend a lot of time watching him, working with him, asking questions. But be that as it may, I grew up in an environment where we never talked about the risk of being in business or starting a business. We just did it because it was the right thing for us to do with our lives and what we wanted to do. We did it because of the passion that we had. So I'd like to share with you the concept of risk versus passion as a part of the startup mindset. I found a blog, and this is, I found two blogs in the last couple days. One was at a website called startupsmart.com. I quote those folks a great deal because they are very smart about the way that they do business. They built a website. Actually, they built it in Australia. And every day they send an email out about information that you can find on their website. a wonderful approach to how things should be done properly, and they do it extremely well. So almost every day I share with you information from their website, but they did have a blog written by Jason Rose, and he talks about the startup mindset. And in it, he basically, in talking about it, and he talks about risk, and he basically talks about investing money. And if you invest $1,000 and you get $100,000 return on your $1,000 investment, was that a good risk-taking opportunity on your part? Of course it was. Of course it was. And you'll spend as many thousands of dollars as you can if you're going to get that kind of return on investment. Really, a 100 to 1, pretty big return. But what about those folks that it's going to cost them $1 million to start their business, because that's what the business demands? And it's not unusual today for businesses to have $1 million, but it's not unusual, but it's not necessary. I am a champion of starting businesses on a shoestring, as they say, with very little startup capital. Little because I've only really had one outside investment. Excuse me, I've only had one outside investment. One outside investor. Actually two, but the one that got me started early was a bank loan that I was able to get for $10,000. And in less than a year, I was able to give that banker his $10,000 back, plus his interest that he charged me. And I don't even remember what the interest was, but he got his money back. And all the rest of the investment in any businesses that I've ever started have been personal investments, money of my own. Now, it worked for me. It worked for me because I wasn't obligated to anyone. But the other side of the argument is, because it was personal money, and because it was organically grown, if you will, taking whatever money was generated in the business and growing the business that way. It was slower growth. It wasn't overnight growth kind of thing. And it's a formula that has worked for me, because just taking that approach has allowed me to basically do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And that formula has worked well for me, and so I continue to go that route. In fact, with David's Barter community and the social marketing and social network technology environment that we have created, I've invested all of my retirement savings, whatever there was, to make it work. And I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all, because it was the right thing to do. It was because I was satisfying a passion, a personal passion, the passion that has driven me ever since day one I've been involved with small business. And I found a great blog this week from a website called Lifehack. And now that I see it, I see Open here. I don't know if American Express Open had anything to do with with that site or not. It doesn't look like it did. But the title of the blog was "A Simple Guide to Find Your Passion and Building a Business Around It." Henri wrote it, and the URL of the website where I got it was not printed. But if you Google life hack, LIFEHACK, you'll be able to find it. And Henri asks, have you ever wanted to live life on your own terms? Have you thought about going after what you truly feel that you've been called to do, but not done it? Henri goes on to say, you're not alone. We're all in the same boat. We're here for a reason, and what excites you is trying the right direction. More important than trying to find the right direction is, these are my words now, is finding the right direction. But you cannot find it until you try to find it. If you have a dream about a business, that dream does not start to become reality until you start it. Quit dreaming about it and start it. Find out if that idea that you have is a good idea. It's a good idea if other people buy into it, if they look to you for the information that you're going to share with them about whatever it is that you're doing. And that is a critical factor when you start a business today. Earlier today, I started to read an article in the New York Times, the e-edition of the New York Times, and it talked about how much information is available today, and our thirst and our quest for information. And that's why, and I asked the question in my Google Plus posting today, why do we Google? Why do we Google? We Google to try to find the best information that we possibly can for whatever it is that we're searching. What about that passion in building a business around? You've heard me say many, many times, I have 3 P's about starting a business, and passion is number 1. If you follow me on a pretty regular basis, you know that I use that word a great deal about business and about starting a business. It starts with that passion. What is your passion? What is it that you want to do? That's where that starts. That's where everything starts. The second P is persistence. I have been accused of being a persistent individual, and I like that accusation. My standard answer when somebody says to me, well, David, you're awfully persistent in what you do. My standard answer is, I'm persistent because I know it's the right thing for me to be doing. That's how I show my passion. Okay, Henri lists some subtitles here and some interesting things, and I want to share them with you real quickly. He asks the question, what is passion anyways? To Henri, it simply means doing something you enjoy right now. It doesn't mean you have to be 110% passionate about whatever you're doing all the time. It simply means that there is a certain amount of excitement in your life. And I agree with that statement 100%. There has to be that excitement. particularly when you start a business. And if you lack that excitement, don't start that business. Why should you find your passion? Second question Henri asked. When you find and follow your passion, he says, things change. When you let go of living a logical life, you free yourself up to let life unfold. You let go of trying to control every little detail, because in reality you've never been in control. Trying to mold the external world to your liking doesn't work, which is why it leaves you exhausted. Finding your passion makes life easier, but it will also make life harder. Going after something meaningful is scary. It takes time. I'm going to end this part. Yes, it does take time, and that's where the third P of mine comes into play, patience. Passion, persistence, patience. Most small business owners that I have met in my lifetime, if I had to say they consistently lack one quality, that is the quality of patience. That's the risk, I think, if there is one, is being patient. Things do not happen overnight, because when you're in business, you're asking somebody to change their behavior and do business with you. Buy whatever it is you have, your product, your service. And people do not change behaviors overnight. It takes time. It takes you displaying the passion for what it is that you do, for them to start building trust and confidence in you and what it is you have to say, what it is you have to market, what it is you have to sell. The 3 pillars to finding your profitable passion, according to Henri. 3 passions. Number 1, excitement. The first one is excitement. What do you feel excited about doing? What do you feel passionate about? What's the excitement? Trying to overanalyze. Don't try to overanalyze, he says, or think too much about the future. No one can predict the future. There's no use in trying to control it. We don't necessarily predict the future, but the things that we do now start to work and help us towards that future that we want to realize for ourselves. We don't have total control of the future. There's something greater in life than you and I know. Than you and I are. We know what it is. It is that spirit that controls the future, but you can do things now to better prepare you for whatever future it is that you want. Number 2, Henri says, is skills. The next step is to look at your skills. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? And what are you good at? Although don't end all your sentences in prepositions. Sorry. Think broadly. If you worked in an office as a secretary for 10 years, you may think you have no skills. But think about what you really are good at. Were you a Jedi at organizing things? Were you amazingly productive? Then dive deeper into those. Number 3 thing, demand. In order to create a profitable business around your passion, Henri tells us, there has to be demand. Not only does there have to be demand for what it is you're doing, you have to be able to bring value to whatever that demand is. Look at what's already out there. If you're into productivity, there are a lot of things you could do. You could help businesses become more productive. But don't use that as a description about what you do. I help businesses become more productive. No, that's not a good approach, because there are zillions of people who help businesses become more productive. What specifically do you do to create potential productivity in one's life? What are the specifics? And then a quick statement about how that has worked for somebody that has used whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you say. Okay, those are the 3 pillars to finding your profitable passion. A next section that Henri goes on to in his blog is the mistake people make. Right about now, most of my clients get overwhelmed, he says. They feel like they could never do this. The reason they feel overwhelmed is because they're trying to figure it out. Stop doing that, Henri says. Let the future be uncertain. The only thing you have to do is take the next step. And I highly recommend that as a mindset of what it is you do in your business. Never end a discussion with anybody with whom you want to do business with until you define what is the next step upon leaving that individual and moving on. What do you and I need to do next to bring this business relationship together? He talks about the anti-quick fix mindset. Don't try to force clarity. Let life unfold in whatever way it does. Clarity, as my mentor, one of my 2 major mentors, Brian Tracy, says, is one of the most important things that we can have in our business. And certainly you need that as you're starting a business. You need to be able to bring clarity to whatever it is you do, and you need to have a simple concept to which you bring clarity to. That's how you start to engage people in what it is that you do. That's how you start to get people to think of why they want to do business with you. What now, he asks. I guess this must be a summary statement. It is. What now? Let's read what he has to say. You'll never get it perfect. And you'll never get rid of the fear, not until you start. Don't even start with a mindset of fear. Just start. If you want to find your passion and build a business around it, your next step is simple. Move forward. If you haven't found your passion, start following your excitement. And he tells us you'll find your passion. Excuses will pop up. Fears will try to hold you down. But you have to be relentless. You have to be what? Second P, persistent. You have to keep going. You can live a life on your own terms, but you have to be willing to take the first step. Henri, thank you. Thank you for your simple guide to find your passion and building a business around it.